Edge of the Web, on the road at SMX.
We had a great time in SMX West this year, and we're able to sit down with some thought leaders in our digital marketing space. Huge thanks to Third Door Media, who opened the door for Edge of the Web to be part of that conference. We had a chance to sit down and talk to Sam Ruchlewicz, VP of Digital Strategy and Data Analytics at Warschawski. We covered the Google Partner Program changes that had everyone fired up. Give it a watch and listen.
Your weekly digital marketing trends with industry trend-setting guests. You're listening and watching Edge of the Web. Winners of Best Podcast from the Content Marketing Institute for 2017. Here and see more at edgeofthewebradio.com. Now, here's your host, Aaron Sparks.
All right, we're at SMX West 2020, and we're talking to a number of thought leaders here. And as we wrap up the second day, the final day at SMX, we wanted to grab a hold of Sam Ruchlewicz and talk to him a little bit about what's going on in the Google Partners world. So, Sam, first and foremost, where are you working and what does your company do first?
Sure. So I'm Sam. I work for Warschawski, which is a lot of consonants put together. We are a boutique integrated marketing communications agency based in Baltimore with offices in New York and DC. Mm-hmm. I'm vice president of strategy and analytics at Warschawski, so I oversee our digital group, I oversee our analytics group. We do a number of integrated campaigns for clients all across the world. So we're small but mighty. And also a Google Premier partner? We are a Google partner, not Premier.
Alrighty. So we've been talking a little bit about a particular issue that arose last week.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, and there's also a good deal of social chatter about this. Google has actually changed some of the requirements to become and retain their Google Partner and Google Partner Premier Partner status. And they actually announced this, I think, last week. We actually did the show about this last week. So they've actually done a few things. I want to get your take on each of these in particular.
Perfect.
Right?
Let's do it.
So They actually required that your spend threshold doubles. Every 90-day, your spend requirement is evaluated, and it's going across all clients, right, that you manage, from $10,000 to $20,000 per 90 days. It's literally making the, well, I'll ask you to give me a take on that. So all of a sudden, all agencies now have to have $20,000 spend over 90 days. What does that do to small agencies?
I mean, I think it doesn't do much, right? Mm-hmm. It's $20,000 over 3 months is $6,700 a month.
Sure.
An agency with just a few even small clients is going to hit that no problem.
Right.
I do think it, in some ways, is good in that we're maybe raising the floor a little bit because there are a number of agencies that have like 2 clients that are Google partner agencies, and all of a sudden the distinction doesn't mean anything. So at least this means you're doing something.
Right.
I think it's a step in the right direction. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would personally be in favor of raising it much higher.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this: on the principle of insisting that you spend more money with the ad platform, right? Mm-hmm. The ad platform actually making sure that you're actually spending more money with them. Isn't that a little bit more of a conflict of interest for the agencies that are executing whatever their digital marketing tactics? They're now, just to keep that badge, they're actually required to spend more.
I mean, part of it, yes. Part of it's also, again, I just don't think it's
not
much. It's not much money. Like, I realize, to some people it is a lot of money, and for them, I can understand. But for me, I'm thinking, do I want a partner that actually knows the platform? How do you get to know the platform? You get to know the platform by using the platform. You don't get to know the platform by doing what Google tells you. You don't get to do the platform get to know the platform by blindly following orders. You get to know the platform by doing different things and trying different campaigns. And if you just look at the current CPC levels, I mean, you're really not talking about a lot of clicks. You're not even talking about a lot of campaigns necessary to get that.
All right.
So my thought is, I want a partner that really understands the platform, and to understand the platform, you got to be in that platform. You got to be using that platform.
Absolutely.
And the only way you're going to get there, unfortunately or fortunately, is by spending a little bit of money.
Right. No, okay,
So
I'm with you. I'm with you there. But it gets a little bit more difficult than these next steps. So let me ask you this.
We're okay with one.
Okay with one. The second one is more users need to be certified. You having at least one certified ads user will no longer cut it. Ad agencies need to have at least half of the users who have admin or standard access to the manager account to pass the relevant certification tests: search, display, video, and shopping. What do you think about that?
All right, so this is one that I think I'm okay with in principle. I actually think this is decent. I think the implementation is idiotic. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I think they're going to probably work that out.
Okay.
So right now we're seeing some clients that we have added the client to. They're saying, oh, we have to get all these people certified, and it's like, no, they're not even. They're clients. See, it's the client account. See, this is ours account. This is our domain, and they're not getting that right.
Right.
Okay. I mean, Number one, I would take this more seriously if the Google tests were something to be taken seriously, but the answers are available online. So
yeah, I mean, there's that.
Really, this is like a basic competence check at this point. Like, can you Google things? Like, I mean, it's meaningless to me.
Right.
The part that I would really want to say, and what I really think they should be doing is saying, you know what, for every client account that you manage, one person from that client domain needs to be on the account. Because really what I'm seeing, and I've seen this for a number of clients, where an agency will not give them access to their account. And Google allegedly is on the side of transparency. They want advertisers to have access to their account and to their data. They say that the agencies have to give it. And I've seen, at this point, dozens of agencies that refuse to give it to clients.
Absolutely.
And it's the client's data. So you know what, Google, if you're really serious about transparency and you're really serious about this, and you're really serious about rewarding agencies who do the right thing and follow the guidelines that actually do benefit the client, then make that the requirement.
There you go. I mean, for the sheer fact that we've heard horror stories before of not so much extortion, but literally just not just removing or destroying a client's ad campaign because that was part of their initial onboarding agreement. This is client's IP. This is their information.
Yes.
They're hiring somebody to maintain their garden, but it is their garden, even whether or not it was originated by them or the actual agency. So you're absolutely right. Is that there's a huge factor of broken trust if there's continue to be that level of SEM agencies out there that are doing this. So you're absolutely right. That would be a great different tactic for Google to make. But so basically, they're actually saying that there's going to be, you need to have at least half of your admin team registered. I'm sure they're going to be able to change that. And for on principle, it is actually also good to make sure that your team are certified. So
yeah, right. Like the trained professionals thing.
Absolutely.
Like your account's being managed by trained professionals.
That's not a bad thing. However, it gets a little bit worse. This is the one that everybody's just stewing on here. The last point, optimization score evaluations. So agencies are now going to have to pay attention to the recommendations tab. And to determine whether an agency is meeting the performance requirements, Google says it will start evaluating the optimization score in your manager account that's located in the recommendations tab. Google suggests agencies review the recommendations to see the actions you take to improve your importance. Or your performance. So note that in the Google Ads UI, it says the company states dismissing recommendations will not count toward the account optimization requirement. So the recommendations tab kind of originated about 2.5 years ago, where it really started to have some meat to it, right? And we all know that an advertising platform making recommendations to spend more money, it's a bit self-serving.
Just a tad.
So, but at the same time, there are some good recommendations, and the Google Partner Network does have, consultants that actually reach out to their partners and evaluate on, quarter after quarter, evaluate some of the companies they're working for. But actually insisting that you take their recommendations.
Yeah, that's like 4 bridges too far.
All right. Let us have it.
So I mean,
why is this such a critical thing?
Let's talk about this. Like, number one, you're talking about something that's allegedly supposed to be a meaningful point of difference, right? You're taking this thing that is a Google partner, and we're saying this is the agencies that you should work with, and Google's allegedly saying, not only does this come with a badge, this comes with access to betas. This comes with additional support resources. This comes with a number of other benefits and perks, and we're saying, hey, unless you do what we want, we're taking that away. So we're going to hurt your clients. And number two, we're saying, you know what? We don't really care about your clients, because if you actually look at the recommendations, a lot of them don't make any sense. So now you're putting an agency who is supposed to be an honest broker here, who is supposed to be, as a client, telling me, I understand this is your goal client.
Right.
Here's how I think you need to allocate your spend, and here's why, and the client can make an informed decision. And now Google's putting their thumb on the scale and saying, no, 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 no. I know that, as you agency might say, hey, actually, this money might be better spent on Microsoft.
Right.
But no, not anymore. Or, hey, hey, agency, I know that, you think that these keywords are really what works, but we don't think so. We think you need to add some more broad match keywords up in here.
And that's spend more with it.
Yeah, spend more. We think, we know you're having a lot of success with this bidding strategy, but we have this new shiny toy over here that we really need to get some data for. So guess what your recommendation just became?
Right.
Give us more data.
Right.
It's self-serving. It's like, Milton Friedman would be proud. This is corporate profiteering above all else.
It is, and there was a precursor to this about 6 months ago or 7 months ago. There was a bit of a debacle where Google was actually contacting the domain owners, the actual clients, circumventing the actual admins.
Yes.
And actually communicating, hey, you're not actually using our recommendations, and pointing out that the MCC, the agency of record on there, wasn't actually applying some of these recommendations, and that got a lot of people into hot water. A lot of agencies that were ignoring it deliberately because those weren't meeting the guidelines of what they were executing on from a strategy level.
Yeah, correct. I mean, we had a few clients, I think, that also had gotten reached out to as well. Yep. I know some of them are in like regulated spaces where we have some really strict legal approvals, or we have some, terms that we do very specific things, and there are very specific things that we don't do. And some of the recommendations were to add things that we don't do, or that the client, doesn't do.
Right.
And we're like, not a chance are we going to add these keywords for a service that we don't provide, or something even worse that could be construed as putting the client in jeopardy if somebody were to search that term, see the client ad, and then say, oh, well, you're claiming that you do this.
Right.
No, we're not. And we have very specific guidelines. We have very specific approvals, and it's just.
So what we're talking about is an AI that got put in place to actually look at the entire campaign and the breakout of different campaigns and ad groups, look at the spend, and look at optimization, generic optimization opportunities. That's what this entire recommendation section is. There's no direct counselor or consult that's actually knowing your client's business. So there's no human on the other side of this thing.
Correct.
Right? And it's insisting now that you use these recommendations wholly without context of your client's goals or strategy or legal requirements.
Yeah, more or less. You basically have Roombas running the show. Because really, Google says they've got a lot of AI tech, but really at this point it's machine learning. It's a Roomba. Yep. It's running around, running itself into tables left, right, and center. This is not, let's not pretend like this is the supreme intelligence.
Right.
This is a fairly dumb robot.
And it's learning off of our pain and the opportunities that it's looking for. Literally, if we're seeing this behavior, there's a precursor, now this, we're seeing Google sidestepping the agency, and on top of that, even removing the agency requirements or removing the agency endorsements and tools and perks and benefits and training for its own
self-serving purpose. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
yeah, it's definitely unacceptable. I think it's a precursor for what's to come, right? This is I think we had some dangerous precedents. I think this is the first one that I would say is like, okay, red flag alert.
Right.
Like we've had some yellow lights. We've come real close. If you're familiar with like yellow lights analogies, I'm not sure how global the audience is, but sure. This is the first one where I'm like, okay, you guys we have firmly just crossed the line.
Really, it really has. And there has been a bit of a kind of dichotomy in SEO. Google's really trying to communicate much more free, and now you have PPC that's really just mandating a higher level of spend and higher level of attention to what they require.
Right. And I defended Google when the Wall Street Journal wrote what was a piece of hot trash about SEO from 4 people that don't know anything.
Right.
And I was the first one to say, actually, in this particular case, there's really nothing to blame Google on. Like, there's legitimate reasons for these things. In this case, sorry, friend.
Right.
Like, you done wrong. This is bad. And I think it leads to a world where today it's this, but what's tomorrow? And I think one of the interesting one of the things I'm concerned about is all of a sudden Google has Google Analytics. They can see exactly who's coming to your site, and they can see how they're coming to your site. So today recommendations are based only in Google Ads, but how long before they start pulling in some more analytics data and saying, hey, we notice there's a lot of LinkedIn CPC clicks coming to your site. We notice there's a lot of Facebook. Right. Your new recommendation isn't just to change bid strategy. Your new recommendation is to shift that budget down because Facebook isn't as good for you as we tell you that it's good for you because we're your source of truth on your website. It's not that far to go from where you're at today, telling you how to run your account, how to run your business, how to set keywords.
And marginalize the agency.
Correct. Right. To saying, you know what, actually, you don't need Facebook ever at all. You don't need LinkedIn. No. And you really don't need Microsoft.
Or potentially, we just won't give you the data anymore.
Correct. You could also do that.
And just drop the
UTMs into direct none it goes, and where it comes out, nobody knows.
All right, so there's our prophecy of doom there. So what can an agency do? What can a domain owner do? A brand do with this type of information?
I mean, if you're an agency, I think it puts a choice front and center, and in some ways, I'm actually grateful for it because you know what? Before, it's really difficult to explain to clients, like, insidious ways platforms try to take your money or try to do you wrong. It's difficult because a lot of them aren't marketers. They're not digital marketers. They're not in the weeds, and that's not their fault. It's just that's what they pay you for in an agency, and it's difficult to explain some of the nuance, right? But now you get to a extent where this is just blatant, and it's easy to explain to a client, hey, Google wants to run your account to make as much money as possible. Here's what they're going to tell you to do, and here's why it's bad. Most business owners can completely understand that this is self-serving and it's bad.
Really is.
So at that rate, I think it allows us to make a meaningful point of difference and say, no, it's not just this complicated thing where we're still right technically, but it's hard to explain. Here, it's very easy to make the case to a client, this is why they're calling you, this is the problem with what they're telling you, and this is why, as your agency, we've been looking out for you and not doing it. I think it puts agencies really to make a choice. You know, do you care more about Google or do you care about your clients? And if you care about the clients, then let the badge go. It's not that big of a deal.
But it's not only the badge, it's also, like we talked about, these are precursors to other potentialities. And, I mean, we got to look at, is Google the marketplace in which we want to compete? And I mean, you know, it's very difficult to see how heavy-handed this is, and it could very well be a canary in the coal mine mentality.
Right.
Hopefully, it's something of an overstep, an overreach, and hopefully AdWords realizes that there's other ways to actually go about helping agencies with better strategy and spend.
Right. You would think. You know, agencies, I think Google has had this weird relationship with agencies where they don't realize that agencies are usually their best salespeople.
Right.
Because Google is really bad at selling their stuff. Like, they're not very good at it. But they have a great ad. You know, Google Ads is a very powerful platform. It is a very powerful product, and used well, it can generate tremendous returns. But you need the agency to make that case. Those are the people that have the relationship, and it's not just about ads. It's not just about social. It's not just about creative. It's you know, you need somebody that can actually help the client understand how all these different platforms work and how to get them to work for them. And Google is not very good at that. And Google's support team or business team is not very good at that.
You have to have the agency advocacy.
Correct.
And if you're actually going to burn these bridges just for a money grab, and if this is actually the case,
it's really bad short-termism because it's not very smart, and I mean, I'm really hoping this was just somebody being dumb.
We hope so too. Sam, thank you very much for your insight there, and we'll certainly see how everything fares over the course of months. Hopefully there's a reversion on this particular challenge. But recommendations, if you're an agency deciding to pull back on that Google badge and go a different direction, what are the alternatives?
So I know Greg Finn has put up a thing called client.partners. It's a quick little badge. It looks very similar, and it says, you know, we're never going to sell it to our clients for another for a badge for any platform. That's an option.
He lit up on social media.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I did a show with Greg on SEJ about this same thing.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So I think that's an option. And I think the other option is, you know what, you make a choice and just be honest with your clients, because you know your job is to be what I think is an honest broker. Your job is to give them the best possible advice. And yeah, you know what, you might lose access to a couple betas. Oh well. You can still read about them on SEJ. You can still check them out on Edge of the Web Radio, and you can still get some information.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, you have to decide what's more important to you. Is it a badge, or is it your integrity, and is it your client's profitability, and is it what's best for your clients? And I think every good agency is going to pick their clients every time. And you know what? If you're the kind of company that's evaluating an agency that still has that badge, I hope you look at them with a little bit more side eye and say, you know what?
Yeah, you're saying that the Google badge could actually turn into be a scarlet letter, so to speak.
Yeah, I think we're if you keep going, the Scarlet G, and that's where it's going to go. Because if that's what's required, eventually today it's this, but what happens when it's you have to automate every single account? Okay, well then what do I even need you for? You know what I mean? Like it's okay, then it becomes that, and that's fine. Then we can easily pick out the bad apples. Great.
All right, so that's it. Watch those badges and ask your agency or the agency that you're actually even considering about this particular issue, because it's not going to go away, and something else very well could happen.
And actually, there's one more thing I just want to touch on. I know Google has mentioned, and they put it in the one email they had sent out to the agencies about increasing your optimization score by 10 points.
Right.
Increases your conversions by 10%. And they cited their own study on this. But what they don't cite, the fun things, are, number one, which 10%? Is it the first 10% of an optimization score, like adding a conversion goal? They don't tell you.
Okay.
Or is it the last 90%, from 90 to 100, and taking an already high-performing account to the really next level, which is what most performance agencies are trying to do. They don't tell you that. And the other fun thing is they don't tell you about how they did it. Is it increasing your budget 50% to get an incremental 10%?
Right.
Because if so, that's like the dumbest money ever. Like you could have just, light the money on fire. At least it'll keep you warm.
All they're saying is just 10 points.
It's just 10%. It's 10 points for 10%, but it's not which 10. It's not how. It's nothing there. It's statistical manipulation at its worst in order to serve their own ends and to justify what is a gross overreach in power. And an exploitation of it's rent-seeking behavior.
Right.
If you're an economics fan, it's rent-seeking behavior. It's bad. Don't do it.
Well, I'm hoping that Google and the annals of Google actually understand and hear from agencies that this space is just a wrong space to be in, and there are ethical lines. And as much as we try to ascribe that to Google, and they profess these things, that it needs to be recalibrated there.
Yeah, it's time. It's put up or shut up time.
Yeah. I do like the client advocacy badge. I think that's a great opportunity. It's a long time coming, actually. It should be part of the consumer awareness of agencies. And
I think it opens up a lane for maybe a trade organization or an industry organization to really come out with a robust certification.
Right.
Something that really does say, if you got this badge, then you're good.
Right.
I mean, I'm hoping that, Greg's thing is taxed on. I'm hoping that maybe Paid Search Association does something. I'm hoping DIA
or something like that.
Yeah, somebody does something that says, here's actually a certification program. Here's actually something that we can stand behind and say, if you have this, that means that you're.
So it's not just knowing the platform; it's also ethical behavior. Of execution for their clients. All right.
Yeah, and it's committing to be an honest broker. I think that's like what I really like in the financial world is that we have fiduciaries, right? And the fiduciary says that and we had the same issue with the banks in 10, 15 years ago, where your financial advisor was selling you funds that he was getting a commission off of on the back end. Right. And the response to that was the fiduciary model, in some ways, making that much more prominent and saying, no. If you have this designation, then you are looking out for your client's best interest, even if, and especially even if it's a loss to you.
Right.
Because that's really that's what agencies should be at their best. And the great agencies are this 100%. You're an advocate for your client. You're there to support their business. You're there to help them be better. Come a mean platform, come Google being a jerk, come Facebook being a jerk, come LinkedIn being a jerk. You're there for your client. That's who's paying you. That's whose side you need to be on. And if you're going to compromise your ethics for a badge, you're going to compromise them for a lot of other things too.
And this is much better. It would be much better than a BBB or consumer awareness platform, because you're going to be vetted by other colleagues.
Correct. People that actually understand the platform.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think it's important that we make this transition, and maybe the industry starts to stop relying on platform-specific certifications.
There you go.
Because that's, again, it's the same skewed incentive. It's just in a different level. Right? If Google's teaching you how to use their platform, they're going to teach you how to use it the way that they want you to use it, not the way that you actually should use it.
All right, so we don't want to be assimilated by the Borg. That's for darn sure. But it does very well seem like the Borg's coming after us. So Let's see what they can do to clean up their act, but at the same time, we as agencies we do need to bond together and be able to lift each other up and recognize agencies that step away from that. Right?
I think it's fine.
Or just advertise on Bing.
Or just advertise on Bing.
All right, Sam, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Great to be here, Aaron. Thank you.
Absolutely. More than welcome.